All right, in this lecture, we're going to go over something called space. So what is space? Well, space is just creating the illusion of a third dimension on a 2D surface. Now, let's go over the 6 different ways that you can create space in your drawings. Now, you don't have to use each one of these individually. You can use different ones together. You can use a combination, or you can even use them all together at the same time, which is actually the best way to create realistic drawings. So let's start with the first one, overlapping. So this is just, let's say we have our character. So I'm going to quickly draw my character right here. I know he's a work of art. And then let's say we have a house and we put the house behind him. So let's put the house edge right there. We'll put the roof right here, and that'll come off the page like so. And then we can even put a door right here and a window there. And we can put a window on the other side, but the guy's going to be covering it. So this is the first way to create space in your drawing, is by overlapping one object with another, and that tells you which one is in front and which one is behind. The next one is size. So let's say we take this same example, but let's say we want to make that house further away. Well, what we can do is we can redraw our character. So here's our character. And we know that a house is bigger than a human. So if we take this house and we go ahead and put it next to him, and we shrink it down really small, let's put a chimney on that. Well, now we know that most likely this house is further away, because generally houses tend to be larger. So unless it's a small miniature house, which is probably not, we know that this house is far away because the man is almost as big as the house. The next one is placement. So let's say that we have a cactus right here, like so. And then let's say we have a character up here towards the top. So if we put our character right here and we make him, whoops, it's not a starfish, and we make him really small. Yeah, okay. So let's just pretend like I didn't make that extra arm there. But let's say that that's our character right there. And he's really small, and the cactus is very large, so we already have the size thing going on. But then we also have the fact that our character is higher up than our cactus. Now, if we go ahead and add in a horizon line, which is just the line between the earth and the sky, well, now we get some really good space because our character appears to be further away because he's higher up towards our horizon line. The next one is detail. So let's say that we have a character and his face is really close up to our camera lens. So we're going to see a lot of detail on his face. So we're going to see his eyebrows really well. We're going to see his eyes. We're going to see his nose. And we're going to see his lips. So there's our character. We can even give him a neck if we wanted to. Now, if there was another character standing off in the background, so let's say there's another character over here and he's further away, so he's a lot smaller and higher up because of placement, he's going to have a lot less detail in his face because he's so far away. So his hair is going to have less detail. His eyes are almost just going to be dark sockets. His nose is just going to be a dark little thing like that, and then maybe another little one for his mouth. But you can see this guy's detail in his face is a lot less than the detail in this face because he's further away. Now, this is really going to apply if you have depth of focus applied to your drawing. So that means, let's say, for example, when you take a picture of with your camera, usually whatever's in the background is a little bit out of focus, meaning that it's sort of blurry, which really gets rid of a lot of the detail. And so that means that this character's face would be very blurry when you drew it, and that's why there'd be less detail in it. Now, the next one is value. So you can create distance by using value. Like I said before in an earlier lecture, things that are further away tend to be lighter because of the atmosphere, meaning the pollution, whatever is in the air at the time, usually causes things that are really far away to appear lighter. So let's look at an example. So let's say that we're taking a picture from inside the woods and we're looking out on a meadow. So the things that are closer to us, let's say the trees and their branches and all their leaves. So I'm going to draw those in really quick. And then we'll have their leaves hanging down like so. These are going to be the closest things. The next closest thing is going to be the meadow itself. So the meadow is out here. And that's our horizon line too. So there's our meadow. And then way far off in the distance, we're going to have our mountains. So very lightly, I'm just going to draw the silhouette of some mountains like so. And then what we want to do is we want to change the values of each one of these. So the mountains are the furthest away, so they're going to be the lightest. So I'm going to really lightly add in some value like so. Then the next closest thing is going to be the grass in the meadow. So that's going to be the next darkest thing. So I'll fill that in with a darker value. And we can probably even go darker than that, just so we get some differentiation between our meadow and our mountains. The next thing that's the closest are the trees. So the trees, we can go ahead and fill those in with the darkest possible value. All right, perfect. So now this creates a lot more depth in our image, which creates space because of the different values. So the further something away is, the lighter it needs to be. Now, if you have mountains around you, or you're in the city or on a really long street where you can see really far away from yourself, I want you to go outside and look at the furthest object that you can see. So if it's a mountain, if it's a building, it doesn't matter, but notice how it gets a lot lighter the further away an object is. All right, the last one is perspective. Now we haven't gone over perspective yet, but we will in the next few lectures. So all perspective is it's just basically lines that you use to guide you in how far away something is. So let's say we have our point right there, and then we can draw a line coming off like this and a line coming off like that. And then we can draw vertical lines coming up like this. And we can use that to guide ourselves on creating a rectangular cube, like so. We could add shadow on this side if we wanted to. So now we have perspective. But how do we get space involved in that? Well, these lines right here, that's creating space because it's telling you where the perspective is happening in your drawing. So if we wanted to shrink this guy down, we could just draw two more vertical lines further down these lines, fill those in with our shadow, create this plane right there. And now we have the same exact rectangle. It's just further away because it's further down these perspective lines, and it shrinks it down automatically. All right, that brings us to the end of this lecture. So in this lecture, we learned about the 6 different types of ways that we can create space in our drawings. Let's go over them again really quick. So we have overlapping, which is just when you put one object in front of another. Then we have size, which is just when you change the size of an object so that you can compare 2 objects together and tell how far away the other is. Then we went over placement, which just shows how far away something is depending on how close to the horizon line it's placed. Then we went over detail, which is just how much detail is shown in the drawing, and that will help determine how far away it is, especially if you have depth of focus applied to your drawing. Then we went over value, which is just the rule that the further away something is, the lighter the value is going to become. And then we went over perspective, which we'll learn about later in the course. In the next lecture, we're going to go into real depth with each one of these types of ways to create space in your drawings. And we're going to go into examples and a lot more realistic details also. So I really look forward to seeing you in the next lectures, and thanks for watching.